Hello, welcome to a Friday Fun. I'm killing two birds with one stone here because, as we all probably saw this week, the new IK Unasynth Pro X came out, which is what we have here, right there. And you also notice that I have this on my hand. That's because I've broken my wrist, which meant last week I wasn't able to shoot anything because it was still healing. It's a lot better now. I won't go into the boring details, but I can play a little bit. Last week there would be no chance I'd be able to use this hand, so hence me not hitting that deadline. But then, you know, I'm not one for usually hitting release deadlines. Anyway, I'm sure you've had your fill of reviews from all the usual suspects anyway. But here's what I'm using in this case, and I really thought it would be a good plan to use this because essentially the Unasynth Pro X is pretty similar to what's been, you know, the Unasynth Pro, which I really enjoyed. I reviewed the keyboard version and the sound engine is very similar. There's very little difference, but what they have done is they've actually changed the interface. So one of the big criticisms of the original Unasynth Pro was it was just a box with parameter access, which, yes, it was. But there was sort of something about that which kind of made the sounds that it made, which I thought were fantastic, by the way. Really good kind of evolution of the original IK Unasynth, which was perhaps not, while it sounded really good and analog, it didn't sort of feel like it really hit the spot in the same way the Unasynth Pro did. But the X now builds upon that. It's not, like I say, massively different. But what we do have here is essentially the same 3 oscillator, 3 VCO, synthesizer, twin filters. There are a few differences. Obviously, I mean, the biggest difference is there's a load of controls on it, and that really helps get to some of those parameters. Still got the very small little LCD, but that's kind of not so important as, you know, now we've got more control. Other changes, I should probably run you through them. There's a third envelope. There's a new mode, baseline mode, which sort of takes it more into sort of 303 territory, and a lot of the patches in here are very 303-like, which I think is fine, but to be honest, I really enjoy some of the little nooks and crannies, the two different filters, because you can run them in series and parallel and split and change the phase. There's some really interesting harmonic points and spots in there. There's the baseline actually changes interaction between core parts of the synth filter envelopes and some parts of the sequencer. The sequencer has been modified quite deeply. There's also a shimmer reverb which has been added to the effects. A Univibe effect has been inserted instead of the phase and flanger, and there's a chorus. There's also a USB-C connection for data and power, but also comes with a power supply as well. There are a few other little tweaks, VCA mount control for drone making, sequence randomizer, and a few other bits and pieces. I mean, this isn't really a full review. This is more, like I say, as a Friday fun. And what I was doing there was literally, I was playing these patches here, so I've got... Let's bring that shimmer verb up. See, I think I am in shimmer mode. Shimmer, yeah. Whoops. And, you know, I think I found a lot of really nice ambient points in that last iteration of the Unasynth Pro. It's got, you know, the effects were deeply part of it, and we've still got the same 16 mod slots, so we can do a lot of modulation and other feels. I've got it paired up with the Keystep 37. There is a little keyboard on this guy. I have to say, it's not, you know, this is the keyboard, so you can, but this is the step sequencer. We've got up to 64 steps. It all kind of makes a lot of sense, but to play with it personally, I find it a lot nicer to play with the keyboard. Anyway, let's get back into how I was making that sound. So what I did is I layered up a bunch. So I've got the sequence that I ran, and all the effects there are no actual effects coming from the Boss RC505 Mark II, which again is a looper we've reviewed. I just recorded this sequence in here and sort of flew in the occasional reverb splash, changing the sound sort of and splitting the filters. It's really nice. In fact, actually, I could probably the easiest thing to do is if I just bring the patch up, which was, let's see, this one that I wrote in here, mini bass. It's got a low pass and a high pass across it. But you can split the... So you get the two peaks between the filters. And we've also got this nice... And what I was doing was... And I've got a fifth... Essentially, I'm just messing around with all of these parameters. Oh, that's nice. I love the drive on this. Anyway, that's what I recorded into the looper. Obviously not quite the same as that. And then I also added this additional loop, which is... which just runs pedal notes against it. I mean, it's a very nice thundery. There's a lot of bass in this instrument. And then to play over the top, if I just stop this, play over the top of that, I've got this other preset, which is another one that I've just created for this one, which is just a really nice... using a lot of the delay in here. And also and messing with the filter, which has got some really nice sweet spots in it. I have to say, whoops. It's just, for me, that's a really nice ambient machine. Actually, what I'm going to try and do is I might see if I can load some of the patches from the Unosynth into here, because I made some really nice patches which I shared on our Patreon. You can see, I suppose I should plug that as well. Our Patreon obviously has all our ad-free stuff is posted there. If it's been monetized on YouTube, we post it up on Patreon without the ads. You get Sonic Talk extra stuff. You get the pre-show and ads removed. You also get various samples. We've got a bunch of samples that are going up fairly soon, which are the drums processed through Dark Energy Filter. That's a dope for, and you know, there's a whole bunch of things up there, and there's a Discord and the whole thing. Anyway, I'm not going to go on about that. So I was going to try and load some patches in here and see if they will go across. I don't know if they will yet. If you're super keen to see a review, Luke Pop's obviously got a review of this out, as he always does, seem to hit those deadlines. But he hasn't broken his wrist this time, so, well, at least I hope he hasn't. So anyway, I'm just going to sort of play out with a little bit more noodling and see where it takes me. So I hope this maybe inspires you to take a synth and just have a bit of a jam. I mean, in this case, this is pretty much self-contained and just a looper. That's the only thing, obviously, on the middle controller. So, MIDI controller. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.